Hello everyone, I am Daniella Breen. There's an Australian song from the 70s called Ego is Not a Dirty Word. And it's the ego that I want to talk about today because it's quite often disparaged, looked down on, and it's important that we go deeper with this, that we go deeper into what the ego is and problems with it, and the value of it, the purpose of it. So the song "Ego is Not a Dirty Word" is a great way to introduce this topic, because it's not. Ego is important. It has value. Ego is the identity of self. And if you are going to move into an increasingly align with the ultimate sacred truth of you, you will be doing it via your relationship with your soul, your individual identity, and moving into the sacred truth of you via that pathway. And what you will be undoing is your misguided or manipulated false identity as that which you are not. And that comes from the wounded ego, which is a different animal altogether. So let's start with the ego. Now understand that you are an infinite being. Ultimately, you are source. And then from there you are monad, and you are souls. You are many souls, and you are one soul. And you come down through the line based on what you want to create. And you came here on earth with the intentions that your consciousness, all the way back to source, designed. So who you are as a being on earth, or as beings on earth, is all about what you wanted to achieve and what your part to play in this entire creation, universal creation and multiverse creation, and what that means for you, what you came here to be. And so you designed a massive, or even more than one, massive structural playhouse within your soul of who you are, expressions of who you are, definitions of who you are, whether you are male all the way through or female all the way through, or both. You designed that largely before you even came here. You designed what you were going to do here, what your intentions are while you're here, what your part is to play in this massive production. And so in order to, after having for thousands of years played that out, and you can guarantee that you achieved or are achieving and completing what you intended to, despite hiccups and problems and pain and suffering along the way, you will achieve your goals, your intentions for being here, for coming here. But you've also lost your sense of self to a large degree along the way. And so for you to align with and return to the ultimate sacred truth of who and what you are, you have to do it by learning to relate to self, to ego, learning who you, the unique design, is. The more you operate with that exploration, the more you open up to that information, the more you are able to align increasingly with all that you truly are and operate increasingly from that powerful and beautiful and unique platform, and B, start to identify in increasing depth and break down, eliminate everything that you're not, that you've been convinced that you are, that you've been manipulated into believing of yourself as you go. If you shun your personal identity, if you shun your ego, if you believe that the ego is a bad thing, then how on earth are you going to align with the sacred truth of who you are? Because you are not anybody else. It's not some conglomeration, some faceless identity that we all fall under. That's not how it works. We are each unique and identifiable beings, not just as human beings, you to me, but you came in with an entire system of consciousness of many beings that you are, not just at a human level, but also at possibly an animal level, ascended master level, all of the different aspects of you, the whole system that you are, the consciousness that you are at all these different levels, in all these different ways, and at a broader sense of you. You are unique in that design. That design is yours and yours alone. Every individual has it, has their own design. And the only way to return to the sacred truth of who you are has to include identifying as you, unfolding your relationship with that as that system. So ego is pretty important. When you look at that, it's critical to your ascension. It is not exclusive to your ascension. There are other things that are critical as well, but it is necessary. The wounded ego, that is where the distortion comes in. That is where the manipulation comes in. And that is where the problems come in. The wounded ego is where the lies have been told and where the twists have been made to your mentality that have broken you down over time and made you develop, or have developed for you, a sense of lower identity. You are less than, you are not anything great. It's a mistake that you are here right now. It's a lie to say that you are unique and special and sacred and have a purpose to fulfill. You are nothing but a burden on the planet. You are nothing but a burden to humanity. You are terrible because you eat meat. You are terrible because you don't. You are terrible because you are a woman. You are terrible because you are a man. It goes on and on and on. There are countless ways in which you have been, over thousands of years, piece by piece, twisted and separated from your identity of self, your true ego identity, the true being, the true expanded consciousness that you are. And it's a problem because most people operate from their wounded ego without knowing that that's what they're doing. They're so used to their false foundation, and they're so used to having justified or finding some way to build some kind of life for themselves on this false foundation that they can't, won't, don't see it. They don't want to identify it because it would mean destabilizing their entire life if they've built their life on a false foundation. Then breaking down that foundation to get to the truth threatens everything that they've worked hard for. But there is no wonderful outcome for anyone who continues to operate from a false foundation in any way. We are in a time where that is no longer possible. We are in a time where increasingly the false foundations are being separated and broken down. We are in a time where everything that is not truth, light is coming in and slamming into it and shaking it around, and nobody is safe. They can't hide in the false foundation that they have created and lived in through their life. It is all changing. And that is ultimately a great thing, but in short term, we are traumatized, we are damaged, we are confused, we do not have perfection in anything as we imagined it would be. And so what we have developed is often at great sacrifice, perhaps not consciously. We lose that sense of consciousness of what we've developed and what we've sacrificed. But it's not the whole truth because it's based on a false foundation, which means it's not based in the ultimate sacred truth of who you are. The only way to truly get to the truth and live in the truth is by having the courage and the sheer determination to face and look and study everything about you and everything about your behavior and your choices, and recognizing when you look to justify things, because that's an indication that it is based in a lie. Recognizing when you're needing to try and control and manipulate other people's behavior or prevent other people's behavior, because that's an indication of a lie, of false foundation. There are a million different ways in which you can study yourself and observe yourself and learn where the distortions are and how they act, and start to challenge them and break them down. And as you are doing that, recognize that you are challenging the wounded ego. You're not willing to accept the false foundation anymore. And as you do that, that which is truly yours, that which is truly your life, becomes increasingly beautiful and increasingly true. And you become increasingly, highly, expandedly conscious in that condition, whether it's a relationship or it's your family or it's your home or whatever it is. But you first have to recognize that the ego is the identity of self, and that is a really important and valuable and wonderful thing. And that you do want to strive to be operating from the true ego, knowing that this is really about the alignment with the infinite consciousness that you ultimately are. And you do want to work hard to face and identify the false ego, the wounded ego, and the false identities that come from the manipulation of the wounded ego, so that you can clear them, break them down, transform them, heal the damage, break down the lies, and the twisted manipulations that occur, and increasingly return to you. Feel the sacred truth of you. Seek to identify where the lies are in you. Not everybody else. This is about you. Understand that the wounded ego versus the true ego will help to get you into the true alignment of the ultimate sacred truth of who and what you are. Without that, you're not going to be conscious enough to ascend and be a master. It's that simple. Have a beautiful day.